So we're just out mowing lawns today, and the Mazport decided to break. So we're gonna have to head home and swap mowers for today. Crazy. So we've got a few more lawns to cut today. I'm going to grab the Honda, and then the Honda will finish them off, and then we'll sit down and discuss the pros and cons of the Mazport after 2 years of using it. But we're going to grab this Honda and then head on back out. So we had problems with the Mazport today. The handle's broken off. So the Mazport I've had for 2 years. So the Honda I've had for the Honda's about 20 years old. It's probably about time I do a 2-year commercial use review on the Mazport, just to let you know about the pros and cons of what I've found over a long period of time using it. I have found some weak points and things like this. It's a bit of a shame, especially when you compare it to the Honda, and this is a rusted out handle. As you can see, rusted out handle, and the thing's still good as new. So I'm pretty disappointed that the Mazport handle snapped after 2 years, but what do? I'm going to take it to the shop and see if we can get that fixed. 2 years on since we bought it, we've been using this for mowing some of our accounts. The positives that I really like about this mower, number one, you have the arm that lifts up and down for easy storage. Super convenient, especially if you're space limited. Does a really good job. The biggest pro of this mower is the engine. This particular Briggs & Stratton engine, I find it to be extremely powerful and also extremely reliable, so it's something I've really liked on the mower. And another positive I really like is the weight of this mower. I think it's about 33 kilos, which is one of the lighter models out there. Comparing it to the Honda can be extremely heavy. All in all, overall it's a pretty good mower, especially if you're just using it for residential to cut your lawn. It's great. Now as for the cons, to start with, build quality is an issue that has recently come up, as we can see with the arm. It completely snapped, so that is not good. And I can assure you that we haven't thrown it off a cliff, we haven't used it for anything that we shouldn't have, purely lifting it on and off the trailer and using it as you would with a usual mower. So pretty disappointing about that, especially when you pay good money for mowers. It's something that you expect these things to last. Obviously you might have issues with the engine, but certainly something like this, a mechanical part, to me shouldn't be breaking. And this is the first time that something like this has happened to any of my mowers that I've ever owned. Another con is I find when I push the mower, the front, because it's so sharp, it digs into the lawn, sometimes making it hard to push through thick lawns, and also sometimes it makes the lawn scalp, unfortunately. So what I've had to find is you sort of have to lift the front end up and push when starting to mow a line of lawn. Compare that to the Honda. I think maybe because of the thinner wheels, it's able to push through the lawn a bit better, making it easier to cut, and you don't have that initial struggle of having to try and push the mower off the mark. So that's one downside to this mower. Also, I found the mulching capabilities to be pretty average, not the greatest mulching mower I've ever used. So I tend to just catch clippings. So if you catch clippings usually for your lawn, it doesn't really make any difference, but if you're wanting to mulch clippings, it's not the best mulching mower. Additionally, with the mulching plug, I've seen a few on the forums say how their mulching plug has been hit by the blades and it needs replacing, and people won't replace it under warranty, etc. You can see on my mulching plug, it's actually taken out some of the mulching plug there. It's harder to see because it's a bit green, but you can see right there it's taken some of the plug out. Hasn't pierced through, which is good, because otherwise it leaves a streak of clippings. But so far so good other than that. The deck on this Mazport has been good as well. Obviously with the mulching it could be designed a bit better, but aside from the mulching it's been quite solid. No issues there, aside from the front of the deck being quite sharp, so it digs into some of those thicker lawns. Additionally, if I just lift it up a little bit, you can see again, because it's quite sharp, you can't really grab onto it. It's a mower that's a lot harder to lift up from the front and carry if you're trying to go up steps and things like that. It tends to cut into your hand, which can be a little bit annoying. It would be nice if it had a rounded off edge, so it's a bit easier to carry. 190cc engine makes it extremely good for getting through some of those thicker lawns, especially wet grass and things like that. It doesn't bog down like a lot of mowers do. One big positive about getting a 190cc motor, I think it's 11.2 Newton meters of torque, which is right up there. I think it's about 0.6, correct me if I'm wrong, 0.6 Newton meters of torque, more powerful than the Honda 160cc's, so that's quite good as well. If I turn it over, I'll just quickly turn off the fuel. But just something to show you as well. I've recently been using 2 blades. Works not too bad with 2 blades, but the blades are easily accessible. They wear out quite quickly, as with all these small but flimsy blades. But this has been good as well, easy to change and quite cheap. You can get the blades cheap on eBay, which is good. No issues with the wheels or bearings as of yet. I have heard some people have issues with the bearings going, but that hasn't been a problem for me so far. One really annoying thing though is in the back of the catcher, you see this section here, it just collects grass clippings, which is really annoying, because when you go to another job, when you go between lawn and lawn, you don't want these clippings to be here, because otherwise they'll drop into the next lawn and transfer weeds and things like that, and even grass seeds from your previous lawn that you've mowed. So it's harder to keep this clean because it just catches it. So they could have just either completely enclosed this area so it didn't have this lip, so it just all catches, or did something else, even cut the whole thing off, because it's not really necessary as such. That could be something that's improved in the newer models, because if we compare it to the Hondas, if we compare it to this old Honda, we can see it doesn't actually have anything that grass can catch on. It's just a piece of metal, which is a lot more convenient for stopping the transfer of weeds and lawn seeds between lawns. But of course, if you're only mowing your own lawn, this little section here doesn't really affect you at all, because you're not going to be transferring weeds or lawn seeds. Would I recommend this mower to someone? I would. The mower's quite reliable. Overall, it's not a bad mower for power and reliability. As for the engine, very solid motor on these, which I really like. Extremely good power, probably a little bit better than the Hondas, but the cut quality isn't as good, and also little hiccups like this make it a little less pleasing. So if you're wanting better cut quality and a good mulching mower, this mower isn't for you. But if you're just wanting to cut and catch, It's a great mower. Also the weight's good for some of you who perhaps like to use lighter mowers as well. I know when I had the Toro Time Master it was harder to maneuver around, which can be a bit of a pain, but all in all it's a good mower. It's just a shame that we've had a couple of mishaps with this, such as the arm of the Mazport just from general use, so and a few little design flaws like this, and also the front of the bumper. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, leave us a like, and as always subscribe to the channel for more videos all about lawn care. My name is Hayden and I shall catch you in the next one.